Hello, it's Lou Collins. Today I've got a card template for you. Now this is a really lovely one because it's a cinder step card. We have done similar sort of templates before, but this one results in a card that's very much vertical. It's almost like your sort of slimline DL type shape. I absolutely love this shape. It's one of my favourites of the last 12 months or so. I always used to be a square card maker, but this longer sort of elongated shape seems really in at the minute, really sort of fashionable, I suppose. So we're going to use this template, and of course you can print it off larger if you want to. Now you may notice that mine looks very grey. We've reverted at home to using things like recycled paper within the printer, so that's why it's this sort of off-white paper, but it all works exactly the same. You can print yours off at home if you wish with colour onto bright white paper. It's entirely up to you, but essentially we're going to be cutting into this anyway. So I'm going to use white as my card base first of all. Now again, just to save cardstock, I always try to put the template, the part that I'm using, as much towards the edge of the cardstock so we waste as little as possible. So I'm going to be using a repositionable spray adhesive. There's lots of different brands of this on the market. This one is the Crafter's Companion one. I believe you can get this on CraftStash. So just give that a spray over. Now this, like I say, you can enlarge this if you wish with your printer settings to kind of fill the page a little bit more. Or you could just take the measurements and maybe sort of work your way around making this a slightly bigger card. But once you've got the basic shape of the template, it's very easy to translate that into larger sizes. Now just reaching across and grabbing my trimmer, because although sometimes or very often I will do the inside lines with a smaller either craft knife or a smaller pair of scissors, something like that, the outer lines I prefer to do with the trimmer if I can, because I get those nice right angles. So I've got lots of white cardstock here, which is my excess. Put that to the side, I'll reuse that. And I'm just going to work my way around this card, just cutting out initially the outside edge. So that's the solid lines. With any craft or template, I'll say 99% of them anyway, will say in the video otherwise if this is not the case, but usually the solid line is the line you're going to cut. So if you've got any solid lines, you cut those, and then if you've got dotted lines, these will be your score lines. So you notice we've got two solid lines down the middle here, so we need to cut those. So popping this back into my trimmer, I'm just going to make sure that the lines, those two solid lines, or one of them at least, is through the gap in the ruler there. And then I can lift up the blade and just put it down where I need it. So just roll that forward slightly, and if I need to come back a little, I can do that until I'm at the edge of the line. And then the same here, I'm not going to go too far forward. There we go. Just going to edge my way towards the edge of each line until I've got it in the right place. And I'm going to do the same now for the second solid line as well. I've moved my blade out of the way. You can do this with a craft knife and a ruler if you prefer, if you feel more comfortable doing that. I always used to be craft knife and ruler over a trimmer, but this particular trimmer has really converted me into using this for pretty much everything. Even my score lines, which I'll show you in just a moment. There we go, just edging towards the edge of that. Now I'm going to put this orange blade, the cutting blade, up to the top, so that's out of the way. And then we've also got on here, this is a scoring blade, which is down the bottom out of the way while we worked with the cutting blade. This is the Creative Craft Products trimmer, so this is one you'll find available on CraftStash and nowhere else. This one is brilliant, as I say, for all of your cutting, but also your scoring. And this is why I've sort of been converted to using a trimmer rather than a craft knife and a ruler more and more, because it just makes things so much easier. I haven't got to get a scoreboard out. Additionally though, if you do like to use a separate scoreboard, if you prefer to use a traditional scoreboard, you can pick one up from the same Creative Craft Products range, a really big one that fits your 12 by 12 papers on. So they do supply both, but I just love this, and I have my scoreboard sitting there. Occasionally I will use it, but I do find this is really handy for both cutting and scoring. So there we go. As I've chatted my way through doing all of those lines, you see I've got, I don't know if you can just see that because they're of course white on white, but I've got score lines and I've got cut lines. So pop my trimmer just to the side for now, and I'm going to peel off. Now There we go, just take it carefully, peel off the template. The template remains sticky because I sprayed the template, not the cardstock, so there's no stickiness on there. I sprayed the paper earlier, so that's got a little bit of sticky on it. Now I can place this on another piece of cardstock and redo that template if I want to. I could put it onto a piece of acetate and keep it for quite a while if I want to, so I've got these options. So just pop that to the side, decide what I'm going to do with the template later. So let's fold our card shape up. Now we're going to work from the front. I do this with every step up. We start at the front, we work our way back. So from the front, the first line in any area is going to be a mountain fold. So I'm just going to put my fingers underneath and push it up. Okay, so we've got, that is a mountain fold. So you can see your mountain. Then if you go along to the next fold, that's going to be a valley. So it goes the opposite way. So we're pushing that down. We work our way through the card. Now because we haven't had a fold here, the first fold we reach is here. So this will be the mountain. There we go. And we don't have any more on that strip, but instead we just have this one. So we go mountain, valley, mountain. So you concertina through all the folds and you should have something like this. So just take yourself a bone folder or something similar and make sure you securely just fold down all of those lines so you've got a nice strong card base. So now we can come to decorating this. Now I've got a couple of colour choices here. I love these. So we've got a navy blue and a sort of very pale peachy coral colour. These two together are absolutely beautiful and they're sort of my favourites to use at the moment. I'm going to be putting onto the base of here a mat, and I'm actually going to use the template to cut this because I'm not going to use this again. I can reprint it again if I want to. But I'm just going to stick this onto the base there. And this is where I usually take my scissors rather than a trimmer. I'm going to cut out just around a little, I suppose about 5mm, maybe not even that, all the way around the edge of this main front part of the card. So the focal point shape of the card. Just here. Now, like I say, if you prefer to use a trimmer, if you want to use that and make it a bit neater, you can do. And just down here, along there, along this edge, and I mustn't forget I didn't cut the bottom edge yet, so I also need to cut a bit of a gap along there. Okay, so now when I peel off my template, this matte layer should sit perfectly on the front of the card with a nice white border, and it does perfectly. Okay, so what I'm going to do now really is just the decoration. So this is going to be glued onto the front of the card. I'm going to take some leaves. I was going to use my Textures Magnolia leaf stamp and die set, but I actually came across this set. Now I don't know where this has come from, but because this is a smaller of card, I'm probably going to use these ones. I'm going to cut myself some navy blue foliage, and I'm going to cut some from this white cardstock, some white florals, and just build up a little spray of foliage and florals there, and then simply add a sentiment, and that will be my card finished. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll come back and have a look at the finished card in a few moments. So now I've glued my florals down and my backing card, I can, or my mat rather, I can just put a little sentiment on there. So I've chosen to use the sentiments for all from Textures because these have lots of different words in both black and white. Now I'm going to use the white ones for this, so I just need to find a sentiment that's sort of quite small because it's a dainty card. I think just with love at the top there would be perfect. So the beauty of these is you just cut them out as you need them, so you don't have lots of little pieces hanging around for ages that are going to get lost. And because we've got black and white on every line, it's really easy to see where the edges of each strip are too. Now of course the white ones you can also ink, so if you need them a different colour you can put a nice pale colour over the top and that will work perfectly. And I think that with love is just going to sit beautifully just over the edge there. Now to stick this down, I'm actually going to use, this is a scrap, but I'm going to use a little bit of foam to lift that up because the flowers are quite three-dimensional. This is just going to help lift that up as well. So hopefully I cut that thin enough. This is a white foam, it's the adhesive foam sheets from the Creative Craft products range again, same as the tools, but these are on at CraftStash, and they really are one of my go-to adhesives. So just with love there in the bottom, and beautiful. So that's that card template. You can find that downloadable at Craft World. It's completely free for you to download. Print that off. Like I say, you can print it off on your white paper, your recycled paper, whichever, but print that off and use that as many times as you like. And of course, if you do make a card using this template, we'd love to see what you've made over in the inspiration gallery.